join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everybody.
Good morning, Mr. Chair.
Morning.
Morning. Good morning to everyone here this morning here on the 10th of May to our county board meeting here. Gentlemen, you have the agenda in front of you. Is there any additions or corrections to the agenda? None at this time?
I'll make a motion. Second.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Wilson and a second by Commissioner Wincher to approve the agenda as printed. Any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? We have an agenda. Gentlemen, I'm going to look to Mr. LeBlanc, our administrator. We have some employee recognition we need to take care of this morning.
Good
Mr.
morning,
LeBlanc.
Mr. Chair. Thank you. First is a welcome of a new employee, Ms. Cindy.
Good morning.
Good morning, Cindy.
Employees with their supervisors.
Brad.
I'll let Cindy go first.
I have Renee Ridge, who's joined us about 2 weeks ago. She's on our case management team working with the over 65 population. She'll be one of our Medica care coordinators.
Great, welcome.
Good morning. Welcome, Renee.
And then Melanie and Megan come up.
Good morning, Mel.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. and
Morning,
Commissioners.
Melanie.
Good morning.
Megan.
This is Megan Terhart. She joins us for Children's Mental Health Case Management, and she comes with experience from Northern Pines Mental Health Center, and so we're very happy to have her be here with us. She's been here about a month.
Great,
Welcome.
Megan.
Welcome. Thank you.
Those are our new employees this morning. All right.
Thank you, Brad.
Mr. Chair, as you know, we typically recognize those members of the staff that have been here for 5 years and beyond by 5-year increments. In the past, the county has done this once a year. Going forward, we're going to do it each quarter. And so for this quarter, we'd like to recognize those folks and their years of service and commitment to the county. It's a tremendous group that we have today. What you'll see recognized represents 230 years of service to this county. But spoiler alert, one individual makes up just less than a fourth of that. So we will get there, and it is substantial and significant, but each to their commitments, we'd like to highlight them today. So for those here, what we'll do is we'll recognize those with 5 years of service first. As you come forward, I'll present you a certificate, and I'll ask you to file in behind the board, and we'll take a 5-year photo, then the 15, then the 20, and 30, and then a group photo at the end. So thank you very much for what you do each and every day, and we'll start off with our 5-year recipients. First, Nate Gerlach. Thanks, Nate. Appreciate it. Please. Sherry Bernarski. Thank you, Sherry. Congratulations. Thank you. Shannon Kowalczyk. Congratulations. Thanks for coming. Lynn Gross.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
In addition to the certificate, those being recognized today had an opportunity to either receive chamber bucks, thank you, or some Morrison County swag, and they'll get that on their way out. So
Thank you very much.
here are our 5-year recipients.
Thank you.
You want to get them? Okay, get a photo? Yeah, thank you.
Put them in the front.
Absolutely, look at that. See?
Everybody smile.
Stand on YouTube.
Got it.
All right.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Todd Chantry. 15 years of service. Thank you, Todd. Congratulations. Thanks for sticking with us.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, and Jake said he was not going to be here. Just want to make sure. Okay? And Renee.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks, Renee. Thank you very much. Okay. Our 15-year recipients.
Slide over a little bit so you're right here. It's just us two.
Get them situated, Tabby.
There we go, perfect. Big smiles.
Thank you.
Thanks again. Yeah, you're welcome. You want to give a speech, Doug? No, I'm going to pass this today. Agenda is tight. Just checking.
20-year recipients. Scoop. Mr. Dan Rushlow. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. With their new body cameras. Chief Deputy Jason Worley.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you. Congratulations. And Mary Kowal.
Thanks, Jason.
Thanks, Jason.
Thanks, Mary. Congratulations. And representing 60 years of service are 20-year recipients.
Mary, thank you so much.
All right, get them situated.
Absolutely. It's not, that's.
Just so we can see all of you.
Important ones up there, that's right.
Front three, shift a little bit that way. The back is good. There we go. Smile. All right. Got it.
Perfect. Thank you.
And our 30-year recipients, John Kostreba. There. Great. Thank you, John. Congratulations. Thanks for sticking with us. Where's Teresa?
Thanks, John. You're great.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. Our 30-year recipients.
No, we don't. There you are. It seemed like it was yesterday.
Thank you.
Oh, man. Just leave it. And last but certainly not least, 45 years of remarkable service is a testament to dedication and commitment to the county. And we're so proud to have you on our team. Thank you, Tara. Thank you so much.
Some of these guys weren't born yet.
Thank you so much.
Tara's our longest serving employee in the county, and the next closest is at 38. So she's got 7 more years than the next closest. It's remarkable. All right, commissioners, if you would have a seat, please, and we'll file in the rest behind you. Everybody who received the certificate, come on up, please.
We have to sit. Yeah. Sitting. You get to stay right up in front though, Tara, because, yeah, you get to stay in front, trust me, absolutely.
Boy, you've seen some changes around here.
Sit down.
Some days we wish we could go back there.
Maybe taller people make a second row if you can, fill in the back. All right, place them, Tabby.
We have selected 3.
Yes, I know the two, I think. With the ball, I have a cartridge.
Okay.
Or make and squish it.
There you go, there you go.
Okay.
We're giving you rabbit ears.
Ready?
I don't care.
12 individuals, over 200 years of service. Thank you.
Yes, good to see you too. Take care, guys.
Thank you. You can grab your stuff on the way out if you'd like, or it'll be here when you come back. Good job. Thank you.
See you. See you guys. That's impressive.
Mr. LeBlanc, thank you for that presentation this morning.
My pleasure, Mr. Chair.
Gentlemen, next on the agenda, we've got 3 proclamations here this morning. First, we have the Public Service Recognition Week proclamation. Do we have someone to present that?
Yes, we do, Mr. Chair. I'd like to present it if that is all right with the board.
That's fantastic.
Last week at Planning, I presented this proclamation as it was Public Service Recognition Week, and I'd asked the board to consider it for this week during board and was asked to bring it forward. So if I may read the proclamation.
Please.
Morrison County Proclamation, whereas Morrison County employs over 300 employees who provide cost-effective, high-quality services in a friendly and respectful manner, creating healthy, safe, and vibrant communities for Morrison County's 34,000 residents. And whereas the efficiency of government relies on the public employees and volunteers who provide services based on a resident-centric structure. And whereas the work of Morrison County employees is fundamental, whether it's public safety, professional services, or administrative support. And whereas through their commitment to Morrison County, employees consistently practice 4 main core values. Trust is paramount, always doing better, strive to understand, and take an innovative approach for the benefit of their neighbors. And whereas the vital work that counties do promotes healthy communities, fosters conditions for economic growth, strengthens infrastructure, and improves residents' quality of life. And whereas Morrison County recognizes the generous contributions of time, skill, and expertise by public employees and community volunteers, and the importance of the services they render. And now therefore, the Morrison County Board of Commissioners do hereby proclaim May 1st through the 7th, 2022 as Public Service Recognition Week in Morrison County, and call upon all citizens to recognize and express their appreciation for the important contributions of public employees and community volunteers through the county and around the world.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve this proclamation.
We have a motion by Commissioner Lemire and a second by Commissioner Jelinski to approve the proclamation for Public Service Recognition Week. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, it goes without saying, if I may, that we just had a group of individuals here that we recognized for years of service. We have a group of individuals in the audience. Without these people, quite honestly, we wouldn't be talking about what we're talking about today. So recognizing them all as once a year, quite remarkable and quite worth the while of recognizing. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jelinski. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion prevails. So I see we have Brad, ladies. We have the Emergency Medical Services Week.
That is correct, and Emily is going to read it, and I think introduce a couple of others who might be here as well.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I am Emily Loomis. I am the co-chair of our public safety group, and I have the privilege of having Kathy Talberg from MLMB here with me today, and Sarah Pratt, my supervisor. And we are going to read an Emergency Medical Services Proclamation. A proclamation by the Morrison County Public Safety Group to designate the week of May 15th through the 21st, 2022 as Emergency Medical Services Week. Whereas emergency medical services are a vital public service, and the members of the Emergency Medical Services team are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury, and emergency medical services has grown to fill a gap by providing important out-of-hospital care, including preventative medicine, follow-up care, and access to telemedicine. And the emergency medical services system consists of first responders, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, emergency dispatchers, firefighters, law enforcement officers, public health emergency preparedness coordinators, emergency nurses, emergency physicians, trained members of the public, and other medical care providers. And the members of the emergency medical services team, whether career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. And it is appropriate to recognize the value and the accomplishments of emergency medical services providers by designating Emergency Medical Services Week. Now therefore, be it resolved that we, the Board of Morrison County Commissioners of the great state of Minnesota, in recognition of this event, do hereby proclaim the week of May 15th through the 21st, 2022, Emergency Medical Services Week in Morrison County, and we call this observance to the attention of all of our citizens and encourage the community to show appreciation.
I'll make a motion. Nope. I'll
We have a motion by Commissioner Jelinski, second by Commissioner Lemire, recommending approval of Emergency Medical Services Week. Any discussion? Commissioner Winchell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Anyway, one of the things you just mentioned in the second sentence, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And again, you also mentioned the volunteers of this, and it's a very important thing that we have throughout the county and the service that all these volunteers and the people that are employed there do. So thank you very much.
Commissioner Jelinski.
Can't really do much more than what Commissioner Winchell just said. I picked out career or volunteer. Huge. And I'm looking at volunteer. Two of them at least are here today.
Yeah.
Without those first responders, ladies and gentlemen, I have absolutely no idea where. Well, I do know where. I was here before there was first responders, so I know what there was before, and I know what there was after. And quite honestly, I realize this isn't just first responders, but first responders play a huge role in EMS Week. So thank you all.
I'd just like to say thank you, Emily, for bringing this forward. There are a lot of unsung heroes out there in our community that not only are they able to respond 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, but they spend many hours of training, and many of them for nothing. They don't get a stipend, they don't get nothing. They do it because they want to help out their fellow man, and thank you for bringing this forward.
Commissioner Wilson.
Yeah, and I agree with what the other guys have said. We thank you very much for all the work everybody does, so thank you.
We're glad you're here. Gentlemen, any further discussion? Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion prevails.
And Emily, we'll take a photo after the next proclamation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Kathy.
All right, the second one we have is May is Mental Health Month, so Jeff, Julie, and Carrie are here, and I think Carrie is going to read.
Carrie called 5 minutes before and had an illness, so not able to come. So Fran, who's
thank
a member
you.
of our LAC, is attending as well.
Excellent.
Good morning, Jeff. Good morning, ladies. Thank you for being here.
So we are here right now for Mental Health Awareness Month for May of '22. Whereas mental illnesses are medical conditions that disrupt a person's thinking, feeling, mood, ability to relate to others, and daily functioning. Just as diabetes is a disorder of the pancreas, mental illnesses are medical conditions that often result in a diminished capacity for coping with the ordinary demands of life. And whereas mental illnesses can affect persons of any age, race, religion, or income, mental illnesses are not the result of personal weakness, lack of character, or poor upbringing. And whereas without treatment, the consequences of mental illness for the individual and society are astounding, including unemployment, substance abuse, homelessness, inappropriate incarceration, isolation, or even death. And whereas stigma, negative stereotyping, and prejudices erode the confidence that mental disorders are real, treatable health conditions, thus impeding a person in getting the help they need, and impose attitudinal, structural, and financial barriers to effective treatment and recovery. And whereas early identification and treatment is of vital importance by ensuring access to the treatment and recovery supports that are proven effective, recovery is accelerated and the further harm related to the course of illness is minimized. And whereas mental illnesses are treatable with appropriate, effective medication and a wide range of tailored services to their needs. Most people who live with serious mental illnesses can significantly reduce the impact of their illness and find a satisfying measure of achievement and independence. Now, therefore, we, the Commissioners of Morrison County, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2022 to be Mental Health Awareness Month in Morrison County and urge all citizens to work together to break the stigma of mental illness and provide our support to those suffering and recovering from mental illness.
Thank you, Jeff. We have a motion by Commissioner Wincher and a second by Commissioner Lemire to make May Mental Health Awareness Month. Discussion. Commissioner Wilson.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank you for all the work you do. It seems like this is a problem that is coming out in the forefront anyway, and something that we need to work on and deal with. So thank you for all the work that you do with this.
Commissioner Jelinski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And folks, I want to thank Fran this morning. For everybody that doesn't know, Fran caught the bus this morning. Quite honestly, Jeff, I think she got here before you. She very kindly, she very kindly waited, stopped in here and said, "Where's Jeff?" I said, "Well, he's right here." Wrong Jeff. So, but then she waited, which is very kind, and you're here with us today, Fran. I can't thank you enough, and I mean it on behalf of everybody. Thank you so very, very kindly for being here. I appreciate it.
Further discussion? Further discussion? I'd just like to say we recognize that mental illness is a treatable condition, and for us to be successful in helping individuals and the citizens in our county and in society, we need to have people who are willing to take up that work and work to help individuals with their treatment. And for that, I want to say thank you for all that you do. Further discussion? If not, all those in favor of this motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion prevails. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks,
Jeff,
Fran.
can we get you to come on up?
Absolutely.
I think we'll probably sit, huh?
Just set it right here next to mine.
I would guess we sit, huh? There's not very many.
I wouldn't do it.
Let's get Fran in the middle.
Absolutely.
Good job.
Good morning there, Julie.
Good morning. Wait,
Just like
It's got all shift quite a bit.
Get over there, just right in
There you
there.
go.
There you go, you guys are perfect.
Thank
You
you.
guys are perfect.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you very much. Thank
Have a great day.
See you.
Thanks, Brad. Thanks, Jeff. I just thought you liked Randy, that you wanted.
Oh, we got another one.
Okay.
Slap me. Yeah, you gotta slap me to keep me in.
Oh, that one won't happen.
Tom, how are you?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome to see you.
Have a great week.
Tragedies that we've had.
You betcha. Hopefully before.
We'll do one more, gentlemen, for our public service.
Outstanding. Unbelievable. Thank you, Kathy.
I think Tabitha should get in.
Yeah, come on.
Yes, I think, come on.
Yeah, come
I
on,
think she
come on.
should too.
Come on.
Take it and send it to you.
Or with yours?
Yeah, I can take it and I'll just email it to you.
Thanks,
Make sure it's
gentlemen.
right then, Zach, because you only get
Oh,
one.
cool.
Yeah, I only get one chance.
How cool is this?
All right, I get to take the official photo for once. All right,
And it is official, just be very clear, Zach.
1, 2, 3. Check it here. Yep, we're good.
All right.
Awesome. Awesome.
Isn't that amazing what those phones will do?
Oh, it's amazing.
And they're better than most cameras.
Gentlemen, we're at the consent agenda on the agenda. Is there any commissioner who'd like to have anything pulled from the consent agenda or have questions about anything on the consent agenda?
I'm good.
I'm good.
We're good, so
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
we have a motion by Commissioner Lemire and a second by Commissioner Wincher. Thank you, fellas. Further discussion? Seeing no discussion, gentlemen, this is a roll call. Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Commissioner Lemire?
Aye.
Commissioner Wincher? Commissioner Jelinski?
Aye.
And the chairman votes aye. All those voting in the affirmative. The consent agenda is passed. Gentlemen, next on the agenda, we have the Historical Society here with us. Good morning, Camille and Ron. Thank you for being here with us this morning.
Thank you for having us.
Morning, Camille. Good morning, Ron.
Good morning.
Neil?
Good morning.
Brief description for the proclamation or resolution is to approve the $140,000 grant for the Morrison County Historical Society to repair the riverbank erosion on the museum's property along the Mississippi River shoreline, of which up to $57,000 is to be used for engineering and architectural fees, and the remaining amount is to be used for matching funds. The grant will be paid out of the lost revenue, ARPA funds. The city of Little Falls has committed $70,000 contingent upon the county grant of $140,000. I want to thank you. If you look through my timeline, you know I tried a number of different areas for support financially on this, but when it really, I started thinking about it last night. The help is right here at home, and I want to thank you for being there for us, and both the city and the county.
Mr. Chair, I'll put this before us to approve this resolution.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Lemire and a second by Commissioner Wilson. Discussion. Commissioner Wincher.
If they would read the resolution for this, it would be nice to hear the resolution.
All right. Resolution 2022, the Mississippi River Bank Erosion Engineering and Matching Grant Funds. Whereas the Charles A. Weyerhaeuser Memorial Museum, located on the bank of the Mississippi River within the city limits of Little Falls, houses the Morrison County Historical Society, a nonprofit 501c3 organization dedicated to the preservation and sharing of Morrison County history. And whereas a series of major rain events in 2015 and 2020 have caused a massive slide of the riverbank along the river shoreline of the museum property, and whereas an engineering design and matching funds are necessary for the Morrison County Historical Society to apply for granting, whereas the Morrison County Historical Society is asking the county board to provide $140,000 grant to be used for engineering design, grant matching funds to repair the riverbank erosion on the museum's property along the Mississippi River shoreline. Be it resolved that the county board authorizes $140,000 grant to be paid out of the lost revenue ARPA funds for the Morrison County Historical Society to repair the riverbank erosion on the museum property along the Mississippi River shoreline, of which up to $57,000 is to be used for engineer and architectural fees, and the remaining amount is to be used for matching funds.
Thank you for that, Camille.
Further discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Jelinski.
we've had umpteen hours of discussion on this topic, and quite honestly, in my bold opinion, lost revenue or ARP funds perhaps couldn't have come at a more opportune time. This maybe would be a totally different discussion today, maybe, if this was a levy issue, my opinion only, because if for no other reason, the Historical Society lays on private property. Like it, dislike it, it's a fact of life, it is what it is. But through discussion, through conversation, agreeing to disagree, and so on and so forth, which is fine, and we've had, I believe, vibrant discussion. I've learned a lot, and I hope that everyone else did too, so that's really all I've got, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Lemire. Thank you, Commissioner Jelinski.
I'd just like to add too that the city of Little Falls is gonna throw in $70,000 if we pass this today, so it's a good collaboration effort between the Historical Society, the city of Little Falls, and Morrison County to help protect the Morrison County Museum. The bank is, I've been out there, and it's fairly close to the buildings, and it's straight up and down, and it's considerable amount of area. So I will be supporting this today for you, Camille, today, and we wish you the best of luck.
And as we go along, I will keep you updated when the engineering firm, I'm sure you'd like to see what the outcome of that is when it's presented to us.
Thank you. We would appreciate
I'd like to
that.
add one more thing.
Commissioner
And
Lemire.
This will be to Administrator LeBlanc. Did you got this in a two-part payment to help with the engineering costs? And then if everything moves forward, if they get a grant to match, then we'd give them the rest of it? Is that how you plan on doing this?
Mr. LeBlanc.
Mr. Chair, that's correct. So the first allocation of it is up to $57,000 toward engineering and architect design, and then the remainder would be applied to match funds if it's able to move forward.
Very good, thank you.
Further discussion? I'd just like to say, gentlemen, this is a good example for us in the discussions that we've had with the American Rescue Plan money, and we talked about being able to utilize those resources to leverage larger resources to accomplish greater good in the county, and this is one of those opportunities where this is working out that way, where influx of cash from us is allowing this party to access greater funds to accomplish something for the greater good of the county. I want to say thank you to both Ron and Camille. We've asked tough questions of you at times, and we've had very good discussion, as Commissioner Jelinski said, and this has allowed this board to further engage with members of your board to help build a greater understanding, and I'm grateful for that. Gentlemen, Seeing no further discussion, this is a roll call vote. Commissioner Lemire?
Aye.
Commissioner Winchell? Commissioner Jelinski?
Aye.
The chairman votes aye. Commissioner Wilson? All those voting in the affirmative, this motion prevails. Thank you.
And thank you so
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
We'll keep you up to
Have a
date.
wonderful day. Stay safe.
Thank you. Gentlemen, Brad and Jeff are here. Brad's got our Health and Human Services report.
Good morning,
Good
Mr.
morning.
Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. So May is Mental Health Month, so I did ask Jeff just to put some information together. We provide adult mental health case management services to our residents, and it's a critical service to ensure healthy development. So I'm going to turn it over to Jeff.
Absolutely. Thank you, Brad. So yes, adult mental health case management is one of the many services that we offer in the adult services team here at Morrison County. And this is primarily a voluntary service. It is designed to support individuals that are 18 years of age or older, and they have to meet diagnostic eligibility due to their mental illness, and they have to have a severe and persistent mental illness diagnosed by a mental health professional to determine their eligibility for services. And the primary illnesses are major depression, borderline, schizophrenia, and bipolar disorder. And referrals come from a multitude of individuals. They can come from a hospital, they could come from a therapist, they could come from the person themselves, from a family member. They work with our intake worker to determine eligibility, and then they are referred for case management, and that case manager helps facilitate coordinating services, developing access to programs that will help the individual live the life that they want to live. As you can see in the next slide, the numbers of individuals served here at Morrison County have remained pretty steady over the past several years. Intakes are constant, they always seem to come in bunches, they always seem to come in waves, but they taper off from time to time, and people they elect to discontinue services once they feel they are no longer needing those services. So and if they do discontinue and voluntarily close, they can always come back. And we have had that happen before. People get their needs met, they say they no longer want to work with us, and they just need to obtain another diagnostic assessment determining their eligibility. They have to have one within the past 6 months. And so you can't have one from 10, 20, whatever years ago. It has to be current and eligible. On the next slide demonstrates the revenue that we receive for providing targeted mental health case management, and we receive reimbursement from our health plans. They are from medical assistance and the managed care organizations, which I believe are Medica, UCare, and Blue Plus. And so, and we have individuals that are served on our adult mental health caseload that transition between receiving CADI waiver services and mental health, just state plan services. And I know I've talked about our waiver programs before, and those individuals can transition back and forth depending upon what their needs are. And so that's why the revenue numbers change depending upon which type of program they're currently accessing. One of the cool programs that we have here in Morrison County is our IPS program. It's individual placement and supports, and pretty much what it is, it's a collaboration between us, Productive Alternatives, and Career Force, and is designed to help individuals with mental health gain employment, helping them to, if they want to volunteer, whatever mode of community involvement that they are wanting. So that not only helps our individuals, because we all know that there's much more than just a monetary benefit to working. There is the self-worth, motivation, but also helps our community as well. As we all know, the struggles that a lot of our businesses are having with obtaining employees right now. It's a grant-funded project. There are 23 projects across 51 counties, and again, we encourage all of our individuals that are accessing adult mental health case management to think about employment. And if some are not wanting, and that's their choice. It's all about what the person is wanting. And I know I talked about how adult mental health case management is primarily voluntary. Well, there are times where it is involuntary, and that is when there is a civil commitment for mental illness that is court-ordered, and here is the statutory language addressing what the guidelines are, what the thresholds for somebody that is in danger to themselves or others, and we typically receive these statements from our local hospital stating that these individuals are a danger to themselves or others due to their mental illness, and is designed to be a short-term rehabilitative, get them stabilized, and then allow them to have the opportunity to utilize voluntary services to live the life that they want to live. Next slide just kind of gives an outline. Like I said, typically we receive an examiner statement in support of commitment for an individual that comes from the hospital. Our mental health team does a pre-petition screening, which is composed of an interview with the person, finding out what are they wanting, what their challenges are, coordinating with collaterals, family members, and then a screening team meets and reviews the report and determines if this individual needs to have a petition submitted for civil commitment. Our county attorney's office then makes the final the decision to submit the petition or not. We have a great partnership with our county attorney's office. We work very well with them. It's been a good partnership for us to ask questions, so we know if we have any uncertainties, what we need to work with. And everything happens in court. A preliminary hearing is then scheduled, and then a final hearing. And at the final hearing, an individual could have a dismissal stating that this individual, I'll back up a little bit. And between the preliminary and final, and mental health professional meets with the individual and completes a full assessment report, evaluation with outlining recommendations to get this person stabilized. And at that final hearing, there could be a dismissal, meaning that the examiner states that there's no need for court intervention. Persons can access services voluntarily moving forward. Otherwise, the two other options are a full or stayed civil commitment. Full is that individual remains in a hospital setting until they're psychiatrically stabilized and ready for dismissal. And then a stay of civil commitment means a person returns to their community and they're court ordered to follow through with recommended services. Otherwise, they return to a hospital. And each order is for up to 6 months, and it can be extended at the end of that 6 months for a period up to a year. But commitments are not designed to be ongoing until the end of time. There's intervention, short term, get the person stabilized, allow them to be able to demonstrate their capacity for making changes. Here on the next slide just shows the mental illness civil commitment cases that we've had over the years. As you can see, the numbers have started to decrease a little bit recently, partially due to COVID, people's unwillingness, not wanting to go to hospitals. Hospital beds are hard to come by these days, so that's one of the things that we work with our local providers to be able to make sure that they know what the resources and processes are. As we've been talking about over the past couple of weeks, some of the impacts of COVID-19 that have been going on for us over the past couple of years. A lot of staffing shortages, providers not being able to meet the needs of our individuals, inability to meet with family members face-to-face as much as they would like to, those informal supports that help to really fill the gaps for a lot of our individuals to help them remain living in the community. One of the things has also been a lot of our folks are not as willing to meet face-to-face with our case managers. We are allowed at this time, due to the federal public health emergency, to meet remotely with individuals if that's the mode that they are wanting to maintain their case manager visits. And so that allows us flexibility. And I know that I think goes to July 16th or 17th or something along those lines. And at that time, we will probably have to transition back to pre-COVID practices. So one of the, on the next slide, one of the things that we've been really trying to encourage our case managers to do is to provide more frequent contact to fill in the gaps as much as necessary. The hard part is that really stretches our case managers very thin because they don't have the capacity to meet all those needs of our individuals. And so they feel very stressed because they know if they don't provide it, what's going to happen. And they care so much about the people that they serve that they want to see them be successful. One of the other very nice things that's out there and available right now is our virtual peer support network. It's an online group that's designed to, there's no cost, there's no barriers except internet access, which we know is not always, it's not as always accessible as we think it would be, but that's a very good resource for individuals to have. We have our Region 5 Mental Health Initiative. The website is a good listing of resources for individuals wanting to access multitude of different programs. So yeah, that's what we've got for right now. Any questions?
Gentlemen, questions?
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner Jelinski.
I have just one quick one, and I get your whole presentation, so don't misunderstand it. And I support it wholeheartedly. And I can't get over Fran being here early for you. That was wonderful, outstanding. However, if we have to, or if you have to revert back to pre-COVID practices, if you will, is there something that says you cannot meet remotely?
In order for us to bill targeted mental health case management, face-to-face visits need to occur once every quarter.
Okay.
And the majority of our case managers are meeting face-to-face right now. The nice thing is, it's getting nicer outside. And so a lot of people feel more comfortable meeting at parks. And so if I had to guesstimate, I'd say about 25% of our cases, targeted mental health case management cases, are meeting virtually. Most prefer the face-to-face.
Yep. And I get it. I mean, I understand it, but I think that when it can work, the virtual piece, when it can work, I just think that it's a cost savings for everyone. But my question is, if you can't do it, I personally think that's something that we need to get fixed, because I think that should be able to be another avenue that you should be able to use.
Well, and that is something that counties are working on to provide some flexibility with having some of these waivers extended beyond the public health emergency. Just because we know some would prefer the virtual, some would prefer face-to-face. And, you know, as Jeff said, we only have to do face-to-face once a quarter.
Yeah.
But we still have to do phone calls those other 2 months or keep in contact because, again, things can happen. So you can do those virtually as well.
Okay.
So there is some flexibility and wanting to make sure that we meet the clients where they're at and how they want to meet with us.
Fully understand. Thank you.
No problem.
Gentlemen, anything further? Brad, Jeff, you know, we had one of the early screens there showed the caseload and the history of the caseload over probably the past 5-6 years, whatever, and that's been pretty consistent. Number of case managers that we have here in Morrison County to tackle that work. How many do we have, Jeff?
Within the adult mental health team, we have 4.4. We have a combined mental health for children's and adult, and that individual provides 0.4 AMH, 0.6 CMH.
Okay, yeah, a lot of work out there. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. For anything else, gentlemen?
Great information, thank you.
Yes, no problem.
Brad, anything else in
Yes,
your
I do.
report?
I do. And so the next thing on the agenda is 3 resolutions. As you know, over the last 2 county board planning sessions, we've talked about ARPA lost revenue funding and looking at supporting some areas within Morrison County, both from a mental health and an older resident standpoint. So I've put together 3 resolutions that we have talked about. The first one is the Regional Mental Health Coordinator position. This is a position that would help move us forward with the Greater State of Mind report, create strategies with our partners across Region 5. We met with Sourcewell on Friday. Crow Wing and Todd did commit. Sourcewell did commit. They're actually going to work on posting the position over the next 2 weeks and can be employed as soon as they hire, can find the right person. So we talked about qualifications and things like that in terms of the activities that would be happening. So we feel like this is a fairly important position across Region 5 to help us build our system, support our residents. And so I would bring that forward and maybe just go with that one as a start, one at a time.
I'll make a motion to approve, Mr. Chair.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Lemire, a second by Commissioner Wincher. Discussion. Commissioner Lemire.
I would just like, thank you, Mr. Chair, to thank you guys for trying different ways to make mental health issue less pertinent in our community, and we'll find out if it works or not. Who knows? It could be the greatest thing that you come across, and every dollar spent could save $5-6 for all we know. And I appreciate the initiative.
Commissioner Wilson.
I just like to say thank you for all the collaboration between the counties and everybody involved to help make this. It's not all on our own, and that's why it's important to everybody. So thank you.
And again, we have the same providers across Region 5, so this does make the most sense in terms of efficiency, partnerships, development. And so I think it's a good process, a good way to go about this. And I just want to say thanks to Jeff and the Adult Mental Health Initiative, because they really worked hard at thinking about how they can move this forward, and this will certainly help them.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff.
Further discussion? Further discussion? If not, gentlemen, this is a roll call vote. Commissioner Wincher.
Aye.
Commissioner Jelinski.
Aye.
The chairman votes aye. Commissioner Wilson.
Aye.
Commissioner Lemire.
Aye.
All those voting in the affirmative, this motion prevails. Brad.
Thank you. The second resolution is another project we talked about, and that is increasing our in-home services for mental health clients using a provider. We have developed a relationship with a provider that is willing to recruit, train, use, or have available for us, specifically in Morrison County, an in-home person. In-home services have diminished over the years because, again, it is one of those services that isn't billable as for professionals as outpatient. It's kind of one of those things now where they prefer to do the outpatient level. So our goal is to enhance the contract with a provider who can then recruit, train, and have that person available. In-home is one of the most successful programs we can use on trying to reduce the family challenges that might occur, especially with those kids who have mental health issues. And so it can be very stressful, very challenging. They will help them with strategies, therapy, those kinds of things. And so I bring this resolution forward. Again, this is one that we've talked about over the last couple planning sessions as well.
No? I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Wilson, and a second by Commissioner Wincher to approve of this in-home resolution. Further discussion? Commissioner Wincher.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, it's been brought up, this is a very difficult position to fill, but to me, I sit on our mental health boards. It's very important that we get this filled, because I think, again, going out to the homes is imperative that we do that, so good luck.
And if I just make one more comment about this particular resolution, again, this is something that we would not pay for unless they actually hire, train, and have available an in-home person for us. So would work with the Auditor Treasurer's Office, our business manager, to make sure that this follows the ARPA guidelines. But I just wanted to point that out as well, that we would only expend this money if the provider is able to recruit an in-home worker and they're providing services in our county.
Thank you, Brad. Commissioner Lemire.
I'm good, thanks.
Gentlemen, further discussion? Further discussion? Seeing none, gentlemen, it's a roll call. Commissioner Jelinski.
Aye.
The chairman votes aye. Commissioner Wilson.
Aye.
Commissioner Lemire.
Aye.
Commissioner Wincher.
Aye.
All those voting in the affirmative, the motion prevails.
Thank
Brad.
you. The last resolution we have is supporting our elderly who are in the homes. Council on Aging has had a gap in terms of some of the funding, and so we have individuals within our county who are on a waiting list to receive Meals on Wheels. This is a critical service to help individuals remain in their home and remain independent. So we've talked about this as well over the last couple planning meetings, and we are trying to fill a gap for a period of time until Council on Aging can develop other solutions to hopefully fill the needs of all the individuals interested in Meals on Wheels. So we would work with Council on Aging, LSS, and Catholic Charities on a contract to pay for those individuals who are Morrison County residents and ensure that they get meals. And so that's what this resolution is.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to move on this.
We have a motion by Commissioner Jelinski, a second by Commissioner Lemire to approve of this additional funding to Meals on Wheels. Further discussion? Further discussion? Further discussion? Seeing none. Gentlemen, this is a roll call. Gentlemen, the chairman votes aye. Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Commissioner Lemire?
Aye.
Commissioner Wincher? Commissioner Jelinski?
Aye.
All those voting in the affirmative, this motion prevails. Brad, Jeff, thank you. This topic and these resolutions are part of that issue of mental health that was recognized not only by your staff and your department, but amongst many here in Morrison County. And I think the board is very happy to take action on that, and resolutions that we passed here today also helps us once again use some of this ARPA money to leverage a greater pot of money and a greater opportunities out there to try to satisfy a need that has been very evident here. And your work and your time with us, both in planning session this morning, is greatly appreciated. And I also want to say I appreciate the efforts of Mr. LeBlanc as our administrator in helping prepare and work through this with the ARPA money. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your support on this.
Thank you to Melanie, too. That'd be great.
Yes.
Just one update, if I may, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. So
Certainly.
did get a proposal from another provider on some of those other mental health areas we were talking about. I'm working with the superintendents on getting their input before I bring it forward. So I'm actually hoping to come back to planning next Tuesday with another proposal around how we can enhance some of the services in the school. So we've talked about that as well, but hoping to have a more clear picture next Tuesday.
We'll look forward to that, Brad. Thank you this morning.
Thank you.
Brad, do we have a CHB meeting tomorrow?
We do at Sourcewell at 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock, yeah.
Next on the agenda, we have the auditor's report. Good morning, Chelsea.
Morning, Chelsea.
Good morning, Chelsea.
Chelsea.
Good morning, everyone. First on the agenda today, I am requesting approval for Two Tall Taverns multiple event large assembly application. The events will be held on July 9th and July 22nd of this year, and 1,200 tickets will be sold per each event. The event will be held, the large assembly application covers 5 o'clock until midnight with performances starting at 8:30.
I'll make a motion to approve, Mr. Chair.
We have a motion by Commissioner Lemire
Second.
and a second by Commissioner Wilson to approve of this application. Further discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion prevails. Chelsea.
Next on the agenda, I'm requesting approval for the 2022 voting equipment grant account agreement for Morrison County to receive $55,216.28 to be applied to purchase our 32 assistive voting devices. A little history on this topic. In December, on the 9th of last year, board approved resolution 2021-109 to apply for the grant funding. On February 22nd of this year, the board approved ordering the 32 Omni ballot machines, or assistive voting devices, and software license. This agreement does have matching requirements. Again, we have reserve funds to make the purchase of the assistive voting devices, and they should be here and arriving the end of this month.
Wishes of the board.
So moved.
We have a motion by Commissioner Wincher
Second.
and a second by Commissioner Jelinski to approve of the voting devices, the assisted voting devices. Discussion. Comments? Gentlemen.
I got a comment.
Commissioner Wilson.
Are these all certified and stuff like that from the state? I don't know, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Anything legal.
Yep, so any and all of our equipment that we used for marking ballots or counting ballots are all certified by the Secretary of State's office. We do have to do testing in our office prior to any of these machines being utilized for accuracy, so we do have the background and the responsibilities laid out in law. So yes, these machines are certified for our elections to be used.
Another question.
Certainly,
I
Commissioner
know
Wilson.
that after we have an election, we certify votes, and we take townships and stuff for certain areas, and then we sit and physically count them, correct?
That is correct.
And is that kind of verifying that the information is all correct from the machines and whatever else you do?
Yes, so after an election, we have a post-election review, and we pull out of a hat 2 precincts, either township cities, and then we go through and hand count certain races to make sure that the totals that were relayed on election night are the same on the report. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion. Chelsea, there was a question in the past about whether or not this voting equipment is somehow attached to the open internet out there. Comments on that you would like to make on that? Is that the case, that this equipment would somehow be hooked to the internet?
This machine is not hooked to the internet at all. The only thing that it's hooked up is to a power outlet.
Very good, thank you. Further discussion? Further discussion, if not, gentlemen, this is a roll call vote. Commissioner Wilson.
Aye.
Commissioner Lemire.
Aye.
Commissioner Wincher. Commissioner Jelinski.
Aye.
And the chairman votes aye. All those voting in the affirmative, this motion prevails. Chelsea?
Next on the agenda, I will be discussing a different funding source around elections. So I'm requesting approval of the following proposed improvements and enhancements to accessibility and security of our elections utilizing our awarded HAVA grant funds. Again, HAVA is the Help America Vote Act funds. There is no match required in utilizing these funds. In January, on the 18th of this year, the board had approved to apply for these funds. On April 5th, the agreement was signed and sent to the state. On our listing here is my proposed improvements and enhancements for accessibility and security of our elections. Our appropriation that we received for the funding is $27,455.11. With that, I'm looking to install 3 video cameras along with the labor in the system, camera wire hookups, and then 2 additional door badge installs, renovation of the Auditor treasurer counter to allow for direct balloting, emergency power hookup, backup generation, and then the remaining funds there would be applied to offset the cost of the assistive voting devices that we just discussed.
Wishes of the board?
Make a motion to approve, Mr. Chair.
We have a motion by Commissioner Lemire.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wilson to approve these proposed improvements and security enhancements to our voting system here in Morrison County. Discussion. Commissioner Wincher.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chelsea, you have these 4 different items kind of, and again, the video cameras, I understand it, but AT counter renovations to allow for direct balloting. Could you explain that to me, please?
So in law, there's language that allows for direct balloting, which is a voter who is voting early can come to the auditor treasurer's office and in a week, so 7 days prior to the election day, they can vote early, and if we allow direct balloting, they can insert their ballot into a machine. So just for history, in Morrison County in 2018, we allowed direct balloting, and in 2020, we did not allow direct balloting, and it is a decision to the office. We made the decision in 2020 not to allow direct balloting because we had 8 precincts moved to mail ballot, which then had flooded our front counter, and we really have to monitor as staff and election judges what ballots are inserted into that machine because they are for early voting. So if, for example, in 2020, we had a lot of people bringing in their mail ballots, and we forecasted that we would see possibly individuals ripping open their ballots and just inserting and not informing an election judge or auditor treasurer staff. And so then it would become a balancing nightmare, and that is why we did not have direct balloting in 2020. So this proposal is to renovate the front counter to allow for our machine for direct balloting to be centered into our counter. So it is managed by election judges and auditor treasurer staff.
And thank you. One more question too.
Commissioner Wincher.
These items that you're upgrading, will they be done by the time the election starts?
Great question. So with the HAVA funds, the proposal was to utilize and implement enhancements and improvements prior to the November election. And so I thought, well, we have an August primary, why won't we get going before then? So I have worked with our IT and our maintenance department, and it sounds like we will have those placed this summer.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Wincher. Commissioner Jelinski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chelsea, I just have a couple of quick questions, and the first would be, do we have everything that we need on here? Probably a pretty loaded question coming from me because you're in charge of this, but is there something more that you need? In particularly, I look at, and 2-door badge installs. Really, frankly, I'm not exactly positive what that means. Does that mean that there's only 2 people, each one having a badge, have to use them at the same time? Or let's assume Commissioner Wincher and myself want to go through that door. Do we have a badge that we can, I'm just asking, and maybe more for an explanation, and if there's a need to actually have more. I'm all about the security of elections like we all are, so I just want to do my best to make sure that we're not missing something. And I don't know what that something would be, just asking.
That's a great question. So to revert back to the 2-door badge installs, that would be accessed with our badges to get into 2 election rooms that right now do not have badge access but have key lock access.
Okay.
So with this proposal, it will then install 2 door badges that only allow election staff to go into, and then that will monitor and have an audit log of who's going in and at what time. So it's kind of vamping up our security around those rooms.
Perfect.
And then to your question, is this enough or should we be doing something more? What had led into these ideas was our IT director and I had met with our Department of Homeland Security, and we had a review on vulnerabilities within our county and elections. And some of these topics were brought up in that discussion that we could do better. One of the main things that is highlighted around every county is security technology, if you will. And I believe that our IT director is on the forefront of that topic and has came to you to grow even more on that protection for the forefront of security and technology on our county and elections.
Sure. Thank you. Very good answer. Thank you very much.
Further discussion? Further discussion? Gentlemen, we have a motion and a second. Seeing no further discussion. And gentlemen, this is a roll call. Commissioner Lemire?
Aye.
Commissioner Wincher?
Aye.
Commissioner Jelinski?
Aye.
The chairman votes aye. Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
All those voting in the affirmative, the motion prevails.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, I do have some updates if I could.
You are very welcome to give us an update.
Just a couple dates in the near future here. 1 week from today, campaign filings open, and they open for 2 weeks through May 31st, ending at 5:00 p.m. We have tax collections that are due next Monday. So far we have collected in a little over 14 million with a little over 11 million to go. So we're right on track. But just to let you know what we're doing in the office in the next week. With talking about funding and funds coming in, our interest rates with our brokers have skyrocketed from where we were in the last 2 years, anywhere from 2.5% to 3% interest rates. So with investments maturing and funds that we have on hand, the office has invested a little over $9 million in the last month with really good interest rates, so it's pretty exciting. And then last Thursday, I did submit with the U.S. Treasury for our second tranche payment with ARPA funds. So initially, when the ARPA funds came forward, it was just the understanding that the funds would be deposited 12 months after the first round was dispersed, and that was not the case. So I did have to log into our portal and then request those funds. And again, second half is $3,242,419.50. So that will be coming shortly. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, any comments? Chelsea, thank you for being here this morning and for the information. Gentlemen, we're gonna take, let's take about a 7-minute break here right now. And then when we return, we will have the Public Works report.
Excellent.
Okay?
Perfect.
We'll take
Thank you.
a short recess. Thank you, Chelsea.
Perfect.
Hey, Mr. Wilson.
Couldn't have come at a more opportune time.
That's right on Highway 10 there. Yeah. A lot of people are invited, so.
Oh, yeah.
Trails. I'm going.
I'm going too, but that's at 5 o'clock.
Oh, yeah, yep.
Let them go tap the kidney first. Oh, shoot. It's not that important.
What's that? Oh.
That could just be.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, let's see if there's any coffee.
I'll give you time.
Okay, perfect.
What's the chief?
Thank you.
Are you serious? Yes. Of course I do. Tell yours to me. I feel bad now. Don't feel bad. Okay.
I want that.
Of course I want this. I have the other one. Have you seen the book that we have in our lobby in admin?
You happy how that went this morning? That's pretty good.
I'm very happy with it. We had to stop the Jeff. Because we gotta take a break. And I'm like, yep. Yep.
This is a joke.
Amy's better.
I don't know. I talked to her yesterday.
And she was here though, right? Yesterday?
No.
Oh, that's why.
She
So,
worked with from home. When I spoke with her on Friday, she said, I literally said, Amy, I have to get off the phone with you.
in the,
I feel bad. I feel like this hurts.
yeah, she called, or she texted me, you know, after Tuck's work session. And I just know if somebody reached out to her, and then I totally felt like a total a-hole after spewing things out there about all that. So then I called, she goes, you know, why don't we talk? So give me a call. So then I called her, and then I'm like, oh my God, you sound like you're ready to die. I go, and she goes, you know, I just, we talked a little bit about the constituent thing. Then we talked about, you know, I shared with her some of the things that we talked about with the ordinance stuff. So I says to help you understand kind of where we're at, and then and it was all in this deal. And then she was trying to talk, and then I just said, you know what? I said, we can talk about this next week. Just get that.
Yeah, this one here, Andy.
Yeah, I know, I looked at that.
And they're probably doing it because they're honest people and they say, well, we need to do it, let's go do it. I mean, it's because they're charging somebody to ride their horse in their arena.
The born trade.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Thank you, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
And I'm not blaming Amy's family, it's just, we gotta get rid of some of that stuff.
Yeah, I don't even know if a guy could even, how many ordinances do we have in the county? Thousands, probably.
They did a good job if they go through some and start eliminating.
Some is probably real old from,
It would look good to just go through and start eliminating some.
Maybe after we get this deal done with the setbacks and all that stuff,
Okay.
then maybe we do, maybe we look at that. Just like, you know, most organizations, they'll look at all of their policies, so they'll have a policy manual, so they'll, every month they'll look at a different policy.
So we normally run through everything and then
Change anything in this, or do we just keep?
I think that, that's kind
session
of
resolution right before you close it.
why I asked Amy that question. She said,
It's in the packet earlier, so I'll mention it, but we'll go by it, and we'll come back to it.
I look at this here one, it's with the horse ride,
Open it.
driven or something, did they make that up like 20 years ago because somebody?
the odds are it's a business.
That's why.
I just have to report it, that it's closed, and then it's reopened, and then we,
Good luck with that one.
I am,
I don't have the answer. I just know that the way that one sounds, it shouldn't have to.
Be careful.
Yeah, I agree.
We having a budget meeting or something today?
never mind.
Gentlemen, we'll call the meeting back to order, and we have Tony here. Good morning, Mr. Hennon.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning, Tony.
Good morning.
I have a few items for you this morning. Our first one here is in regards to our CASA 15 project by Swanville and 8 miles south. So I'm requesting approval for the attached resolution to appoint the Commissioner of Transportation as an agent of Morrison County to accept federal funds and authorize an agency agreement for federal participation in advanced constructing and directing the board chairman and the county minister to execute the MnDOT contract number 1049757 for advanced construction. A little bit about this, CASA 15 is a federal project. We've awarded that to Knife River to the sum of a little over $2 million or $2.4 million. What this agreement does is it allows us to accept federal funds. We actually have 2 years of federal funds in here. We have some funds from 2022, and then we were allotted funds from 2024, and we'll be advancing those funds to accept them this year and apply them to this project. So in 2022, we're actually only receiving $7,400, but in 2024, we're receiving a little over $316,000. So a total of $324,200 of federal funding will go to participate in our project costs for that project.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Jelinski, a second by Commissioner Lemire. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion prevails. Mr. Hennon.
Our second item is another agreement with MnDOT. This is our master partnership agreement. It's actually a renewal, and this agreement will go from 2022 to 2027. So what this agreement does is it allows Morrison County and MnDOT to partner in a variety of different services, including technical advice, engineering, sharing of facilities, equipment, among other things. For example, we use the MnDOT labs for a lot of our construction procedures. We'll send them bituminous samples for review, gravel samples, stuff like that. And in the wintertime, we actually partner with MnDOT, and we use their brine tanks, and they provide brine to some of our plow trucks. And this agreement just extends that out to 2027 and allows us to continue that.
So moved.
We have a motion by Commissioner Wincher, a second by Commissioner Wilson. Gentlemen, any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion prevails. Mr. Hennon.
Our third item on the agenda today is another resolution. This one is a long time coming. This is in regards to the County Road 200 railroad crossing closure. So a little history on this. This has been reviewed all the way back to 2012 and potentially a little bit before that. Over that time frame, the previous county engineer, Mr. Bukowski, did a lot of work to facilitate and with different agencies to get it to the point where we could come to an agreement to close this. Last summer, they held a public hearing in Scandia Valley Township where this was discussed. And actually on September 7th of 2021, Mr. Bukowski brought to the Board of Commissioners a request to move forward with the closure of this railroad crossing. Following that, we went through a little bit of agreement reviews between myself and the county attorney Following all that here, we're here today and we're going to start our first resolution to proceed with the closure of County Road 200. So what this resolution is going to do is it's going to permanently close County Road 200, the railroad crossing there, and that is US DOT number 097599E. That's the railroad crossing there. This resolution will also enter Morrison County into an agreement with the state of Minnesota, the Commissioner of Transportation, to permanently close County Road 200. In this agreement, we'll end up receiving a little bit of funding from the Minnesota DOT to help facilitate that closure. And this agreement also, or this resolution also enters Morrison County into another agreement with the BNSF Railroad Company for the permanent closure of County Road 200. Again, this will help facilitate that closure, and Morrison County will be receiving some funding once that closure is complete.
Make a motion to approve, Mr. Chair.
We have a motion by Commissioner Lemire and a second by Commissioner Wilson on this resolution. Discussion. Commissioner Lemire.
I just want to thank Tony for going over the contracts. He found some things that need to be changed to protect us, and he's doing a really good job on this. And if you could continue to keep the township officials abreast on the actions that are going to be taken, that'd be great.
Absolutely. Yeah, our next step following this resolution, we're going to start evaluating our construction, or our maintenance construction for the year, stuff that we're doing in-house. This will be an in-house project, so we'll coordinate it to make it as economical as we can for Morrison County. And as we get close to scheduling that, we'll be in contact with the township and then all the emergency services in that area, just to make sure everyone's aware. We'll also be doing a lot of advanced signing, saying, the road will be closed in X amount of 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it may be, and just to try to eliminate surprises. It's a very sensitive area. We have a lot of people that utilize fish trap in Lake Alec and Lake Chaminade and Crook Neck up there. So we want to just make sure we give everyone a good heads up so they don't come up and get startled and a little bit disgruntled.
Thank you.
Further discussion.
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner Jelinski.
Tony referred to 2012, so we're talking about 10 years ago since this conversation started. I believe this conversation started before 10 years ago, but I was part of that conversation. Commissioner Wincher, I think you were part of that conversation 10 years ago. Might seem that that's how government works, pretty slow, but this is a big deal to close a railroad crossing, to close a road, ultimately giving that road back, giving that road not back to, but giving that road to the township at the end of the day. I mean, it's a big deal, so all the work, thank you for that.
Yeah, it may seem like a long time, but there was a lot of different things negotiated through this whole process and a lot of different avenues explored. I mean, there was talk about trails and then abandoned railways and all this different thing. And ultimately, this became the number one priority for everyone, was just to get it closed.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it may seem like a lot of time, but it just takes a lot of time to explore that many avenues.
Further discussion? Just, Tony, I want to say, want to make one point here. Number one, or maybe 2 points. Number one, I appreciate you articulating your appreciation for your predecessor, Mr. Bukowski, and the tremendous amount of work that he has spent or had spent on this issue over a great number of years. And I also want to articulate this board's appreciation to Isaac Schultz, who represented Congressman Stauber's office as a state director here in Minnesota, and the work that he did in the past 2-3 years in working and negotiating with the railroad. And his work was also very important in helping us reach an agreement with the railroad on this project. And so I want to make sure too that we also recognize that. But thank you for your comments. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion prevails.
Our final item here is for another resolution. This is actually for a maintenance project, our 2022 pavement marking contract number 2201. I'd like to review the abstracts with you. So you got your second page there. So with this is our maintenance striping contract. What we're doing is we're updating some of the striping inside the county. You know, as you can see, we have we have over 2 million miles of paint that we're going to be striping there. So when we evaluated it, we had an engineer's estimate for this work to be a little over $233,000. We had 2 bidders, and our low bidder for this project was Sir Lines-A-Lot LLC. They came in at $194,623.43. That is 16.7% underneath our engineer's estimate. We're very lucky to receive a bid that's underneath that, and I would recommend awarding this contract to Sir Lines-A-Lot.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Wilson, a second by Commissioner Lemire to approve this bid discussion. Commissioner Wincher.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, just to put this out there, I think I say it about once every 5 months. We've had a public meeting on a Public Works meeting, and this is not the first time we're seeing these, so we all looked at these before, so you're not blindsiding us.
Yes, and we're grateful to Tony's patience and time he spent with us at Public Works Planning to bring us up to speed on all these things we've considered here this morning. Thank you, Commissioner Wincher. Further discussion.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to say the same thing. I was going to interrupt earlier, but we've had 2 other contracts with no questions. It wasn't that there wasn't any questions today. We've had a lot of discussion about these contracts and these roads and stuff, and we just approved them today, so.
Yep, thank you, Commissioner Wilson. You're exactly correct. We've had good discussion and good education on all of these, and we have a bid here this morning that's coming in very favorable to the county. Further discussion.
Mr. Chair, just
Mr. LeBlanc.
point of clarification, I'll ask the engineer. I think you said 2 million miles of striping. I just want to clarify, was that feet of striping?
Yes, linear feet. So that's just a rough number, so.
I just wanted to clear the record in case something gets put out that we have 2 million miles of roadway in Morrison County.
No, it's not lane miles or center line miles. It's the actual linear feet of paint. Yeah, and this contract's actually only for roughly a third of the county. So we're setting up a system to be striping a third of the county, once a year. And then we have some higher traffic volumes that we'll be trying to address a little more frequently to just keep our roads striped. Striping is one of the biggest safety impacts that you can have on a road, so it's something that we budget for annually, and I want to make sure we try to keep it up to date.
Commissioner Wilson.
Yeah, I got another question. Tony, we had talked in our discussion about paint. I see that, our bids were like 233, they came in 194. We talked about different paint for stripes on different things.
Yep.
And at one time, there was different paint for different things. Where this year's contract, it's the same paint for all the stuff. Am I correct?
Yep, so this year we're only bidding latex paint, or just regular paint as it's referred to in the MnDOT. There's a bunch of different types of paint that can be applied. The county has numerous kinds. Some of it's called multi-comp paint, which is a thicker or a little bit hardier paint. We have regular paint, which is what we're applying as maintenance. There's also some paint that's referred to as wet reflective. That's a thicker paint, has a lot of beads that go in and out. Obviously, all these different kind of paint types have different costs. And then you get into recessing them or putting them inside a sinusoidal rumble strip. So essentially, if you veer off the road a little bit over the fog line, you'll feel a kind of rumble. A sinusoidal, they call it a mumble strip. It's supposed to be a little bit quieter, not disrupt the residents around there. But throughout the county, we have 6 to maybe up to 10 different styles of paint. And what we're doing from a maintenance perspective is we're just trying to simplify it. It's a lot more economical for a contractor to come in with only one type of paint. It's also simpler for our engineering team to say, okay, this third of the county, we're just coming in with latex. Now, obviously, with everything, those are just a general rule. There's stuff that will be left out. So if we have an area where we recently did an epoxy or a ground-in sinusoidal or something like that, for example, that CASA 15 project, those funds that we're going to be entering into the agreement, those funds are actually coming from a HSIP or a safety improvement program. And what that's doing is we've applied to have our shoulder paved, and then we're putting in sinusoidal rumble strips, and those will get striped in there. So you look at that section of road, it'll have a different kind of striping on that. But in general, we're trying to get it to be a little more uniform, so it's just a more efficient process for everyone, and then it makes it a little more economical too when we bid these projects.
Thank you for that discussion.
Further discussion? Further discussion? Seeing none, gentlemen, this is a roll call vote. Commissioner Lemire?
Aye.
Commissioner Winchester?
Aye.
Commissioner Jelinski?
Aye.
Chairman votes aye. Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
All those voting in the affirmative, the motion prevails.
That's all I have. Thank you,
Tony?
Mr. Chair.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Have a great day. Thank you.
You too.
Gentlemen, we're at the administrator's report. Mr. LeBlanc?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And on the heels of our Public Works Director's update here in front of the board, my first request or item to discuss is to appoint Tony Hennon as the Morrison County Engineer for the term of 6/1/2022 to 5/31 of 2026. As a reminder, the board approved the hiring of our engineer last November and began work some 6 months ago. The original hiring was for a one-year term, which would expire this coming November. In accordance with state statute 163.07, reappointments must occur in May of the year of which the term will expire. So that is where we find ourselves in May of the year which the term would expire. And then each four-year increment after this, if approved, we would come back to reappoint our engineer for an additional 4 years. So this is the request of today of the board.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Winchester, a second by Commissioner Lemire to appoint Mr. Hennon as our county engineer for a 4-year term. Discussion. Discussion. Tony's doing a tremendous job since coming aboard here. Gentlemen, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We have an engineer.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. My next item is to request the board to move into a closed session following our committee reports and upcoming schedule item on the agenda today. In accordance with State Statute 13D.03, I'm asking us to move into a closed session to consider strategy for labor negotiations and to review proposals with the board.
I'll make a motion to.
Second.
So we have a,
Do our schedules first.
Do our committee report.
Do this resolution first. We're doing the resolution.
I make a motion that we go to a closed session after we give our community reports and schedules.
Second.
and we have a motion by Commissioner Lemire to go to closed session, second by Commissioner Wilson, following our committee reports and upcoming schedules. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, that motion prevails. Gentlemen, I look to
One last item, Mr. Chair, if I may.
Mr. LeBlanc, thank you.
As I interrupt the chair,
No,
this
you-
is a reminder, gentlemen, that kind of on the heels of our Public Works Director, as I approach my 6-month mark as the county administrator, part of my hiring contract was to receive a performance evaluation as well at that 6-month mark. So I just am reminding the board of that that obligation or that stipulation laid out for me. And so I believe with our HR manager, we'll get some documentation to support the board through that process and look to move into a closed session in 2 weeks for me to receive some welcome feedback.
And so, thank you, Mr. LeBlanc and gentlemen. Beth is here and will give us a paper document that we will use as our evaluation document in evaluating our administrator. I think, gentlemen, this is one of the most important responsibilities we have as board members here. And I urge you to take time over the next 2 weeks to carefully look through this and make comments right in this document. And I'm going to encourage you to be very forthright in discussion when we go into closed session in 2 weeks to discuss this with Mr. LeBlanc. This is one of the most important tools that we have in helping to shape the performance of our administrator and to help him in his work in that position. And so I'm grateful to Beth for helping us with the document here. Mr. LeBlanc will also get a copy of that same document. And as he had said, in 2 weeks, we will do this after our board meeting on the 24th. With that, I look to our chief clerk for dates to be reviewed of the calendar.
We're gonna go from May 15th through May 28th.
Commissioner Jelinski?
I'll kick it off.
Thank you, sir.
On the 17th of May, at 8 o'clock in the morning, filing opens for elected officials. At 8:30 in the morning, we're going to have a planning meeting right here in the boardroom, followed by a budget meeting scheduled for about 10 o'clock. At 6 p.m. that same evening, we're going to have a Planning Commission Board of Adjustment meeting, where I believe it's just the Planning Commission is the only thing on the agenda that I'm aware of. On the 18th, 3:30 in the afternoon, I have an SECB Executive Committee meeting, which will be held virtually. At 5 o'clock that evening, I have a Hands of Hope meeting, which is also virtual. On the 19th at 10 o'clock in the morning, I have a Central Minnesota Emergency Services Board Owners and Operators meeting, which is virtual. Okay. On the 23rd at 5:30 in the evening, here at the boardroom, we're going to host the Little Falls City Council in a joint meeting, the council and the Board of Commissioners with Morrison County. The 24th at 9 o'clock in the morning, we have a county board meeting, followed that evening at 5 o'clock by a meeting here in the boardroom. I just have it called scams, but I think it might be called something else. The Art of Scamming, here in the boardroom at 5. On Thursday, the 26th, at 12:30 in the afternoon, I have a State Emergency Communications Board meeting, and that will be virtual. And, Mr. Chair, that's all I have between those dates.
Commissioner Wincher?
Okay, on the 16th, just an FYI, there's nitrate testing here at the courthouse from the 16th to the 20th, and I believe it's from 8 to 5.
Yep.
And then it ends on the 20th, so Monday, and it ends. So you're more than welcome, bring your water in at some point, and they'll test it for you, and that is a no charge. On the 17th, there's a Great River Regional Library at 5 p.m. And on the 26th, I have a TCC at 5:30. That's here in Little Falls. And then at 8 o'clock, SWCD, Soil and Water, meeting here, again, will be at the courthouse, and that should take care of me.
Commissioner Wilson?
Yeah, on the 17th, I've got community development at noon at Pine Country Bank. The 18th, I got RDFA at 4 o'clock here. And the 27th, I got Mississippi Headwaters Board in Walker at 10 o'clock. That's it.
The RDF meeting is not at Pine Country Bank, it's here? Is that what you have?
I said that.
Okay,
We'll have to check on that, okay?
okay. We'll get on the same page.
Yep.
Commissioner Lemire?
On the 19th, Long Prairie One Watershed One Plan Committee, Todd County Historic Courthouse, 9 o'clock. 23rd, HRA at 9 o'clock at HRA. And the public health meeting is gonna be held at the Art of Scamming on the 24th. I believe it starts at 5 p.m.
Does, yes.
That's all I got.
Thank you, Commissioner Lemire. On Wednesday, May 18th at 10 o'clock a.m., I have a Region 5 Exec Board meeting at the Staples office of Region 5. On the 19th at 7 p.m., the Egg Society meets here. I believe they will meet here. I will try and confirm that for you. On Tuesday, the 24th, from 2 to 4 in the afternoon, the Mississippi River One Watershed, One Plan meeting at the Crow Wing Land Services Building in Brainerd. And on Thursday, the 26th at 6 p.m., the Region 5 Full Commission Board meets at 6 p.m. in Staples. And that is all I have. Gentlemen, any comments on committees? Anything else you would like to add?
Greg, our DFA is at Pine Country Bank. Yep.
Commissioner Wilson, thank you. Appreciate that. Anything else, gentlemen? If not, we will recess this board meeting and go into executive session. And we will start that executive session meeting in, let's say, why don't we start that at 10:55? We'll give time to clear the room.
Good job, Mr. Chair.